this is David and welcome to my most hotly anticipated games of 2021. This isn't going to be simply a list of all the RPGs being released next year. This is instead a carefully cultivated list of games that I know that I'll be getting on day one because they're just that good. There was a time not that long ago where I could easily fill up an entire list with tons of games that interested me. But sadly, it seems like those days are gone now. Maybe I'm older, maybe I'm jaded, or maybe the state of gaming just isn't quite what it used to be. I have no interest in mobile, gadget garbage, or cheaply made cash grabs. This list will only be made up of what I believe to be high-quality games. All that being said, as upcoming games, the footage can be a bit scant, so I'll be showing what I can of various trailers released, and let's get started.
Number 9. Shin Megami Tensei 5 to be released for the Nintendo Switch. This entire series is a paradox to me. I don't like monster capturing, I don't like hard games, I don't like crazy evolutions, and I don't like dark, evil type games either. Yet, for whatever reason, I like this series. In Japan, it's right up there with Dragon Quest as one of the most popular franchises around. And while it took quite a few years for it to finally reach Western shores, I am glad that it did. Sometimes I find the Persona spin-off games to be a bit on the slow side, but Nocturne got me into the mainline series and I'm glad that it did. And, just as I was excited for Persona 5 last year, I am thrilled for this one as well. Number 8. Edge of Eternity, to be released for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. I feel like the last time I played a crisp, clean, turn-based JRPG like this, it was Lost Odyssey. But while the zones there kind of felt constricting, and it had a definite Final Fantasy IX vibe, Edge of Eternity is its own beast. To me, it almost looks like a turn-based Xenoblade, which is really something that I can get behind. And if it looks like something that's up your alley too, and you want to support the developer, it is available now on early access on Steam. The developers are saying that it's currently rough around the edges, but they're quickly polishing it, and they want to release a procedural chapter-based content all throughout 2021 and beyond. Number 7. Oddity, to be released tentatively for the PC. This might look familiar to some of you, as it was previously known as Mother 4, and for obvious reasons, and it's probably wishful thinking that it will be out this coming up year, but maybe featuring it here in the video will give the developers the recognition and boost that they need to get it done. Taking place in the 1970s, Travis is just an ordinary boy armed with a baseball bat and a pellet gun as he goes off on an adventure to save the world. The moon is covered in ooze, and there's a spring of kidnappings as well as a secret society on the loose, and I for one cannot wait for this oddball game to finally be released. Number 6. Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes to be released for the PS4, PS5, Xbox, and the PC. Suikoden was one of my favorite series of the golden age of the PlayStation. The multiple game-spanning storyline focusing on family drama as well as political intrigue between rival nations was groundbreaking. No other game really did what they did, with sequels building off one another and characters from previous games appearing in subsequent sequels. The whole series was so well done, I was devastated whenever it all ended. But Eiyuden Chronicle is a spiritual successor to it, and it's knocked its Kickstarter goal out of the park. So here's to hoping that this spawns just as many sequels as the Suikoden games which inspired it. Number 5. Bravely Default 2, to be released for the Nintendo Switch. It really should come as no surprise to anybody watching now that I love old school JRPGs. Give me a 4-person party, a job class system, a traditional world map, and I am a happy camper. This series, a deliberate throwback to simpler times, with a dream come true to me. Bravely Default takes massive inspiration from one of my favorite Final Fantasies, Final Fantasy V, with its expansive job class system. The game isn't really about the story so much as the gameplay to me. And now that it's graduated to Nintendo's home console, they can really take the series to a new level, and I am personally stoked for it. Number 4. Ys 9, Monstrum Nox, to be released for the PS4, PC, and Nintendo Switch. I'm a big fan of Falcom in general, but I have the longest history with the illustrious Ys series. I've played all of the previous entries, and this one looks especially promising. Taking place following the events of Ys 9, Adol is presumably shipwrecked and washes up in the prison city of Balak in Gilead, which is under the control of the Roman Empire. From what I can tell, it looks to have a decidedly darker tone than many of the previous entries. Let's just hope that Nisa learned their lesson and doesn't screw up the localization like they did with the previous game. Number 3. The Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, to be released presumably for the PlayStation 4 and 5. This is all purely speculation on my part, but I can't imagine that Square will want to lose the momentum that they have with their highly anticipated remake of Final Fantasy VII, so rumors do swirl around that says that Part 2 will be released in the fall. But what I really want to know is, how far will they take it? Will they just go to Nibelheim and leave us in the cliffhanger mystery of the fire that may or may not have happened, and who Cloud really is? Or will it continue all the way to the Temple of the Ancients and end with Arius' death? Or will she survive this time? The speculation of it all is the best part. Number 2. Tales of Arise, to be released for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Ever since I first played Tales of Destiny on the original PlayStation, I've loved this quirky series. It's right up there with Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy as my 3 favorite RPG series of all time. And similarly to Dragon Quest, it is consistent. For the most part, you know what you're getting whenever you pick up a Tales game, and I can really appreciate that. I'm of a certain age where I don't want to reinvent the wheel every single time that I pick up a new game, and Zestiria was special, and Berseria was dark fun, but Arise looks nothing like either of them. The world is crisp and beautiful, and it looks like a return to the glory days of Symphonia, Abyss, and Vesperia. And number 1, Final Fantasy XVI, to be released for the PlayStation 5 and later the PC. Let me level with you here. I was 8 years old whenever I played the first Final Fantasy on the NES, and I've been a lifelong fan ever since. Well, except for the past 10 or so years. To me, the last truly great Final Fantasy game was 9. The others since then have just ranged from passable to terrible. And from the looks of these trailers, everything that I loved about the series is back. The crystals have returned. It's set in a medieval magical world filled with summoners and chocobos. There's no teen angst beach ball drama or boy band car rides. Finally, we have a Final Fantasy game that I can get behind. Well, that's it for my most hotly anticipated JRPGs of 2021. Some honorable mentions are the remakes of Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne and Saga Frontier. What are your most anticipated games? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comments, and if you like this video and what I do here on the channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon. The link to it can be found in the video description. This has been David. If you like this, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good day.